Welcome back. We are on day 4 of this 5-day series. So we are towards the end, guys. We are towards the end, okay? And here's what we got to say. Here's what your sweet cravings are trying to tell you. Here's what they're trying to tell you. So I'm not going to recap the days prior, but I want to mention something this morning. Our sweet cravings are spilling the tea, but today it's coffee. Today it's coffee, and here's a little hack that I have in my coffee. So long are the days of me drinking black coffee. So long are the days of that. I have a fat source, I have a fat rich creamer in my coffee, in my lattes at all times. No more of just straight shooting caffeine, okay? Unless it's up my butt. That's a different story. Okay, so wanted to mention that is you can do these hacks in the drinks that you drink too, right? So coffee, I have some sort of fat source in here. Could I add collagen? Cool, yeah. Think about your adrenal mocktails you hear me talk about all the time. Love those, by the way. There's blood sugar balancing within that. It's the collagen in there. It is the fat source that you add into there. That all anchors in the orange juice and the coconut water to provide a stabilizing and nourishing energy from the drink. So I want to preface this just in case this has maybe been lost in the 3 days so far of this Sweet Cravings mini series, mini program. The goal is not to blunt a blood sugar response. That is not the goal of blood sugar balancing, is to avoid any sort of rise or increase in blood sugar. If we don't have a rise in blood sugar after a meal at any time throughout the day, that's a problem. Okay? Somebody's account came up this morning, and it's somebody you guys probably all know, but she talks a lot about blood sugar. And I feel like her message is getting missed of everybody's just trying to avoid a blood sugar increase. And it's like, if we don't have a blood sugar increase, we are losing vitality. I think of blood sugar and being open and receiving blood sugar and utilizing it, utilizing it, is as vital as blood flow. We're literally talking about blood, right? Glucose levels. That is vitality. And if you are familiar with traditional Chinese medicine, they talk about blood flow as life. That is qi. It is life. It is source. So we don't want to blunt that. We don't want to blunt that. We want to optimize it. We want to utilize it and bring in the most of it and access it and take it into our cells and break it down and utilize it. We want to soak it up. We don't want too much and we don't want too little, because either or are bad. They're not great, and they're not great long-term strategies for optimal health, right? So I want to just preface this and make this clear, is blood sugar balancing is not about flatlining. It is not about keeping low. It is not about ever having an increase, because if we don't, we are lacking true vitality. We want to uptake it. We want to utilize it. There is supposed to be an increase of glucose with eating a meal. We are quite literally hopefully breaking foods down. And that's another aspect I really need to mention on this is many people think blood sugar isn't a problem, and I will not say blood sugar is a root issue problem. It can be one of those middle ground things that's really causing a lot of issues upstream. Okay? Because I mentioned it's really intertwined with nervous system, that always goes deep. That is the deepest part of you, which means those are root causes. Mineral deficiencies are root causes, and there can be multiple root causes. But blood sugar is a big key player for hormones. And a lot of people are trying to oh, my hormones are messed up, and they're trying to shoot up progesterone, they're trying to shoot at thyroid. But blood sugar, insulin, and glucose, those are key players in upstream impacts like your hormone health. So if you're dealing with thyroid issues, if you're dealing with waking up in the middle of the night, if you're dealing with constipation, if you're dealing with bloating, if you're dealing with bubbly guts, if you are dealing with skin related issues, acne, you gotta dig deeper, and this stuff matters. This stuff is things that I do in my practice with clients where we fine tune a little bit more. We do these little strategies and tips and techniques that are really good here that I'm sharing with you guys across this 5 days. But sometimes we got to go deeper, and we do actually have to test sugars. We got to zoom out a little bit and actually see how this is impacting things for them. And then we could utilize some of these strategies more specifically for what their body is actually responding like. So this is just a stepping stone. This is just things you can pick up and take with you to learn and implement for yourself. But if it's not actually resolving much things, you got to dig deeper. And that's where working with somebody that understands the intricacies of all this, the interconnectedness of all this, to help you peel back some of these things for improving those upstream things, right? Like your skin, like your hair quality, like your hormone health, like your cycles. You got to kind of go below that and see what message is being sent to impact those systems and those processes, because nothing ever acts alone. A gut issue is not just a gut issue. Never, never, never. It is a very big focal point where a lot of things are ripple effects from. And that's what I am very, very, very good at. So wanted to mention that first. So let's dive into this day 4 topic. Is really kind of like how you are eating your meal. How you are eating your meal, guys. We talked about building up your plates. We talked about structure and maybe trying out eating your protein first and eating your carbs last. We've previously talked about feeding yourself frequently and making sure to avoid too long of intervals between your food. But we haven't talked about how you are eating your meals, okay? How many of you put a finger down if you eat breakfast and you also scroll on your phone or through emails while you are also eating breakfast? Put your finger down if you don't take your lunch work breaks and you're multitasking while you're also eating your lunch. And maybe you could go ahead and put a finger down if you just don't eat lunch at all. Put a finger down if you are eating your meals on the go. And maybe the only meal that you have that you actually sit down for a meal is your dinner with your family. Okay, look, put a finger down. We got one more left. Put a finger down if you are so worried about what you are eating that if it's right, if it's wrong, do I got this or do I got that? Put a finger down if that is the vibe and that is the energy you are eating within your meals. How many fingers do we have? Okay, I could also add one more. Put a finger down if you eat a meal and you don't even remember what it tastes like. Put a finger down. Put a finger down if all your meals are you grabbing it from a drive-thru, or you picking it up from a DoorDash, or you picking it up from a carryout of a restaurant, or it is you dining in a restaurant and not really seeing anything happening in the kitchen or having any sort of touch hand in the meal being made. Put another finger down. Put another finger down if you have been told, or there's just some sort of reason that you are having a lot of water with all your meals. Or maybe you're like, I don't want to eat too much. So you drink a lot of water before your food is even served, and you drink a lot of water with your meal because hydrate, babe, get your gallon of water a day. But that's actually, okay, just put a finger down. Okay, how many fingers down do we have? Okay, how you are eating your meal has a big influence of your ability to digest and absorb and take up that sweetness of the macronutrients we are getting and the micronutrients. It matters a lot. The energy you are putting into the meal, the multitasking that you're doing, is sending a very different message than what we inherently need to be eating meals like. We should not be eating all of our meals in front of a screen. We should not be eating all of our meals scrolling. We should not be eating all of our meals responding to our boss and emails and work messages. That's distracting. That's distracting, and it's pulling you away from being present in the meal and present in your experience, which has a huge impact in your ability to break those foods down and utilize it, absorb it, uptake it the best that you can. This shit is impacting your sweet cravings. If you're flying by the seat of your pants and you have no idea, you have no presence, you have no awareness to the food that you ate, it is just something that you do and you're done and it's over and you're on to the next, and you spend the littlest and least amount of time being present in that experience, that sends a message. Your sweet cravings are going to come biting you in the ass. They're going to be calling you out all the time if that is how every meal is for you. Same thing goes for your stomach screaming at you and bubbling at you and gurgling at you. Like, that's a sign. This is your body talking to you. Hey, the way that you are eating your meal. You could have the cleanest meal ever. You could be clean ingredient, low tox girly. You got the grass-fed beef. You're eating that first. You could have the perfect plate. But if you're eating your meals in a negative energy space, if you are eating your meals in a, I just got to get this in and go. If you are eating your meals and of, this isn't really serving me, I just got to put it down because whatever. If you are eating your meal distracted and more concerned with what's on TV or what's on your screen, this is the problem. And I'm going to talk more about screens maybe in this series, maybe in the next one, or this video or the next one. But screen time, blue light, sure as heck has a lot to do with your blood sugar response too. Ope, big ope. Okay, so get more in tune with your meal. Get your hands, get more involved with it. When you eat your meal, spend time eating that meal. I know this is hard for some of you because you live very fast lives, but make this something that is a non-negotiable for you. And at least this, I'm not asking you to flip 180. Just start with something small. Start it with your first meal of the day. I already talked about yesterday making breakfast your bitch. Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the one. Your dinner, cool. But we gotta start creeping more presence, more awareness, being in tune, being centered, being grounded when we are eating our meals. There's actually, I was working with a one-on-one client a couple years ago. We literally had her to help ground her and be present in her meal because everything else was so chaotic. One meal, she would eat her breakfast on the floor of her office before she started working. That was what we did. And that helped a lot. Like, her feedback was like, honestly, things are so much better by literally just sitting on the floor. That's literally grounding. You're grounding yourself. Okay. So eating your meal, how you eat your meal is super, super important. You've seen me share about this in my content a lot, but be present in the meal. Sit with the meal. Take it in. What are you tasting? What are you sensing? What's the temperature of it? Maybe you made it and you're like critiquing like, oh, maybe I need some more of this seasoning or that seasoning. Even just having that like analysis and moment with that meal is important. And not only that, is this helps us raise our stomach acid levels. And if you're the person drinking lots of water with your meal, that's actually neutralizing, that is actually shortening, that is actually lowering and decreasing the impact of your stomach acid to be able to break food down better, which again goes back to blood sugar issues and goes back to sweet cravings, if that is something for you. So being present is going to help build up your stomach acid levels, and it's going to help you digest and absorb that food better so we can have a better response from our food. Big key. Other important things for this, and this is just going to be a spin-off of how to eat your meal. There's just additional little like nuggets I want to drop in here for you, is supporting your liver. We've talked about waking up in the middle of the night. We've talked about going too long between meals. Guess what your liver has to do is it has to create glucose from your body. It creates its own glucose to feed your cells when you are not feeding yourself enough. So your liver, on top of 500 other things that it's doing, you're asking it to also feed your cells, which is your essence, your energy, your physical body here. That's a fucking lot. So things are going to go on hold, processing toxins, creating hormones like cholesterol, activating hormones like thyroid, and clearing out excess hormones like cortisol and estrogen. You see where this is going? Those are all going to get pushed to the side because it has a very vital task right now, and that is feeding the screaming cells in your body, giving them life. So supporting your liver is going to be a huge one, and you can support your liver literally by the few days that we've had of this series of feeding yourself frequently and how to prepare your plates, and this one of how to eat your meal. That is supporting of your liver. But also you can add in some things like supporting the stomach acid that we've talked about, and maybe my clients more know about how to specifically support stomach acid, but being present in your meals, support your stomach acid levels, keeping water away from your meals, drinking water in between your meals is preferred. That word. That's going to help your stomach acid levels too. Eating the protein first is going to help support stomach acid levels. So bitter foods, supporting stomach acid levels, and opening your drainage pathways. And if you have questions about those, reach out to me. That's big nugget in this. And the next one is to, if you maybe struggle with waking up in the middle of the night, maybe try out having a snack before bed. A balanced snack, not just like chips before bed. Like I'm talking a balanced snack. This could be like date and cheese, or this could be like a little cup of Greek yogurt and maybe some fruit or some honey on there. Just really pulling in that, whole fat yogurt, and you're also getting a lot of protein, and you're also getting some of that quick sugars. That could be something, just a little snack. And remember, it's a snack, it's not a huge meal, because huge meals will impact your sleep because your body isn't in the state to process food super late at night. So keep that in mind. And with that in mind, making sure, this is where I'm going to talk about the blue light, is the more connected we are to nature, the more we are synced with nature, the more our bodies are going to respond with nature. So the sun is rising every day, babies. The sun's rising every day. And I've already talked in different episodes about how the sun is intertwined with our menstrual cycle and also our own ebb and flow of blood sugar. We wake up and we will typically have higher blood sugar because of the higher cortisol because of the sun being out and perceiving the sun. So eating your meals out in nature, having meals outside, reducing blue light at night so that your body is signaled that, like, hey, we don't need to have cortisol out right now. Like, we need melatonin. This is, your body's taking in the senses around you of how to respond and react to its environment. And you having mixed signals of blue lights all around at night is mixed signals to your body because it's dark out. But then we have these blue lights and you've also been awake for so many hours. So your body's really freaking confused. Confused chaos. It's going to tangle up a lot of other systems in the body and flow of the body. So try to eat your meals in the hour of the sun being awake. And you could even look into some traditional Chinese medicine flow charts to see that the best time to eat your meals, and this isn't for everybody, this is bio-individual, but just getting an idea of organizing and planning your meals more with when the hours the sun is out, more with the hours that you are awake, is going to be more supportive of these things like your blood sugar, like digesting and absorbing food. So surprise, surprise, all of this intertwines with gut health. So pretty important to have good gut health and having your body to utilize what you're putting into it. So let's make what we're putting into it worth it. Eating outside if you can. I don't know if you guys noticed in the summertime, I'm on my stories a lot. I'm eating my breakfast outside. I'm eating my lunch outside. I'll even eat my dinners outside, and I'll eat without Houston because he isn't exactly like me. But I would eat all my meals outside. And if you think about it, even when you're out camping, are you eating all your meals in your tent? No, not unless you're like eating late at night. You're eating outside and you're more connected with nature, and you are having all those meals in nature's environment, which impacts digestion too. So I do want to say that I don't want this video to be too long. Maybe I'll cap it at 20 minutes. I really was hoping that this wouldn't be too long, but man, when I get to yapping, I get to yapping. Last part I want to talk about here is your menstrual cycle. The different phases of your menstrual cycle can have an impact on your blood sugar response. We are going to be less resilient to blood sugar spikes and insulin resistance in the second half of our cycle, in our luteal phase, because we do have this like craving that we get because there's an appetite increase in the second half of our cycle. And that's going to impact our appetite to increase our needs because the metabolic demand of our body increases by having an increased temperature. So yes, you are more prone to having some sweet cravings in that. And there's some ways to work with that I love having some cacao or some hot chocolate, and that will provide some magnesium and potassium. Or you can start to cook sweet vegetables like butternut squash and sweet potatoes that will enhance that sweet taste, but still giving you that nutrient density. And of course, we want to anchor in those carbs, right? So that can help a lot without having that big, huge glucose response. And I also want to mention in your luteal phase, progesterone is really sensitive to blood sugar, meaning it's very sensitive to high blood sugar and very sensitive to low blood sugar. And I find that if you go too long, not I find that, but like it's very much studied that if you go too long with food in the luteal phase, your progesterone levels are going to drop. And if y'all are cyclical women and y'all are trying to optimize your fertility and y'all are trying to optimize your overall health, we want ovulation to happen and we want to be able to sustain the progesterone levels that increase after ovulation. So really try to avoid going too long between meals in your luteal phase, and especially that overnight fasting. The women that fast the most or have the longest fasting hours that are in their luteal phase also have the worst PMS. Keep that in mind. keep that in mind. So you also might notice more dizziness if you are in your luteal phase and going too long without meals, or not adequately supporting and anchoring in your sugars and your meals. So I want to leave that there. I'm not going to go a second further. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode.